on fireplaces. It's hard to carry on when you feel all alone. Now I've swung back down again. It's worse than it was before. If I hadn't seen such riches, I could live with being poor. Oh, sit down, oh, sit down, oh, sit down. Sit down next to me. Sit down, 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 down. In sympathy.
Evening. I have my esteemed guest on tonight, Antony Herbert, mate. How you doing?
Not too bad, Jez. Looking forward to tonight's stream. And how are you?
Oh, good, mate. All good, yeah. Quite strangely, this is a very good question that's come up here. We were talking backstage there about the cost of materials, etc., going up in the building trade, in your trade in building, and my old trade in heating and gas work and whack crap. And Aces has put this very good question comment in a lot earlier. Arsenal has announced that they will be raising ticket prices again next season, £72 for upper tier and £73 for lower tier. Absolutely shocking and scandalous. I mean, is that justified, do you think? Do you think that's justified Arsenal should do that?
No, I don't, Jez. No, not. I mean, they put the ticket prices up, but you've got to go on recent performance. I mean, don't get me wrong. We have been brilliant in like the last 5 or 6 games we've been playing. But then when you look back over last season and season before, we haven't really been that great. I mean, I'll tell you something now, and I've got it here in front of me. Arsenal, back in 2018, they put their ticket prices up by 20%. 20%. Can you believe that?
That's
right? And now they're on about putting it up again. Obviously, you said £73 and £72 for these different tiers. I'm not being funny. It's like what you said. Is it worth it at the minute? I don't think it is, no. And I'm not being funny. When you've got people that loves the sport, loves the team, no matter what prices that, you know, it goes up by, whether it's by £20, £10, £15, whatever, they know that fans will pay it, especially when they're season ticket holders as well. So you mark my words that I mean, it's extortionate prices at the minute, and it makes me think if the fans are going there to watch a game and they're season ticket holders, I don't know how they can live with all these prices going up in football today. I really don't.
Well, the thing is, it's starting to price the every average Joe football fan out of the game, because those tickets will sell. There's no question they will sell, because there's people will come for one game in their life from abroad, wherever, and good luck to them, and I hope they have a fantastic time. But the everyday Joe fan is gradually getting pushed aside because it's money. And Dale Boy, good to see you, mate. Hope you're well. I haven't seen you for a long time. I've occasionally, when you're in your live, I watch you on your channel, mate. I haven't seen a lot of you, mate. But good to see you. Hope you're well. I mean, Steffi's in the house. Hi, Steffi. Hope you are very well. Haven't seen you for a while. And I mean, it's not right, is it? Let's be honest. Mama, how are you? I'm glad to hear you're feeling better now. And you know, the average Joe really wants to go every home game or whatever. And when you've got to pay those prices, and then if you want to go to away games with the cost of travel, I mean, I just don't know how people do it. I really don't, because the cost of travel nowadays, everything that goes with it, food, drink. I mean, the prices at the Emirates anyway are bloody ridiculous for food and drink, and it's pretty crap. But people do it, mate. They will do it because they love the club, and I respect them for doing it. But I don't see it's really that justified. I know I've heard people say, well, because of the pandemic, had to recover costs, lost costs, Really? Okay. Well, Arsenal took out an interest-free loan from the government, paid it back. Fair enough. As Jam says, want to know why we don't do the same in the Champions League? We're going to come on to this, mate. We're going to come on to that right now. Anyway, let's move on to nicer things. Arsenal, Newcastle. Sorry, Mama, we've got to talk about it. Great performance. Great performance, wasn't it? You know, I mean, 4-0, and I don't know if your view is on this, but I think our midfield absolutely dominated that game.
Definitely. I don't know what it is, but do you know what, Jez? When we cast our minds back, you know, when we weren't playing really well, and Mikel Arteta's decision was to take the team away to Dubai, basically. We weren't up for that, and we're thinking the poor performances, the way they've been playing, why the hell did they deserve to go to Dubai? Well, obviously they went there, and since they've come back from Dubai, it's been a different story. So it proves what I know. You know, I don't. You know, it might not be a lot, but I really thought it was like basically it was taking the piss because obviously the fans, the money that paid that. The fans that paid that, you know, that was out the fans' money basically for them going to Dubai. But you know, you know, and it's paid off. Obviously, we've won 6 games in a row. We scored 27 goals in 6 games or there roundabouts.
Something like that. 27, 28, something like that.
Yeah. So it's going to be, you know, so obviously it's fantastic. Don't get me wrong, Jez. I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it at the minute, and may it continue. But, you know, there's something down the line that tells me that this might come to an end, which will be typical Arsenal in one way. But, I mean, going back to the game, I mean, I don't know if you've noticed this, but we seem to be scoring a lot from set pieces now. Gabriel seems to be getting on the end of things, you know, and scoring goals from these set pieces. Maybe that's something that they learned in Dubai and on the training pitch and bringing it into the games, you know, which is fair enough. You know, obviously we talk about Saka's goal, you know, that was a good goal. Kai Havertz, him getting on the score sheet, that's 7 goals for him now this season, 70 goals. So I don't know whether he's gradually picking it up there, you know, and obviously reading the game much better, but we still don't really roughly know his position. But he's been playing up front now. The problem that it's not a problem, but it's a question. And I was on Tony Cole's show last night, and I asked him the same question. With this Kai Havertz up front, Jesus was on the bench when he against Newcastle, right? Would you take out Kai Havertz and put in Jesus? I mean, you think about it. I mean, we've been playing well with Kai Havertz up front, but would you change that or no?
Not right now. No, I don't see the point. I mean, I think that's a great point, Anthony. I mean, we did this last year. He came back after the World Cup, injured, came back in the team. Team was going well till the World Cup. After the World Cup, we started to fall down. And Jesus was in the team again. And no, don't change something that ain't broke, because, you know, if Havertz is doing this and he's scoring, keep him in there. Keep him in, because let's be honest, Jesus is not exactly a prolific goal scorer. No. I mean, in recent times, he seems to have spent more time on his arse than he does actually running around. He's on the, you know, looking for the cheap free kick or the cheap penalty, rather than actually doing what he should be doing. As Macy said, big up, Jez. Good win for us, but the Portal game is our toughest game, along with Aston Villa, Chelsea, Man City, Man United, and Tottenham. Absolutely, absolute facts. But Anthony, to answer your question, mate, no, I wouldn't change it. I don't see the point. You know, Havertz could have had 2 at the weekend, possibly. He scored 7 goals. I think we'll get a few more before the end of the season. And the good thing about it is, Anthony, I don't know if you agree with me on this, right? The more goals he starts to get, his confidence is going to go up and up and up. And I've said maybe one of the issues he had when he came to us from Chelsea he was very, very low in confidence. I mean, I did say somewhere in there's got to be a footballer, because there's no way when Chelsea bought him, they'd have spent that money if he was absolutely dog. But we spent 65, so somebody saw something in there, and long it may continue. I mean, do you think maybe he was lacking in confidence? Maybe that was his problem?
I think he was lacking in confidence. I think with him going to a different team, £65 million price tag over his head, you know, I mean, that if he weren't going to perform, questions was going to be asked. Questions were asked because, you know, I mean, when he first came to us, Jez, in all fairness, me and you said it might be a good thing. There might be a player inside there just waiting to come out and play good, exciting football. And, you know, and gradually, I mean, that hasn't happened yet, but it gradually is. But it's instead of taking like big steps or medium-sized steps, they're very small steps at the minute. But those small steps are sort of gradually leading into the right position. Like, do you know what I mean? Down the right road, down the right channels. But I mean, I can answer that question. I've asked you as well. I won't change it. I would just leave it. Right. The other thing as well is, I don't know if you've noticed this, but when he's actually playing up front, Kai Havertz, and he's lurking around that 18-yard box, he's a threat in there. And I've noticed what he does in that 18-yard box is sort of, it splits the opponent's defence. Do you know what I mean? Which causes certain gaps in the area. And this is what we've been doing. We've been exploiting those gaps, and also, not being funny, the wide areas between Saka and Martinelli as well. So obviously, with him not just scoring, he is causing havoc within that 18-yard box. So it's like what I said, may long it continue. He hasn't got a dip in form. The way how he's playing, that's how we want him playing in every game. Being an absolute nuisance in the opponent's box, and then obviously things start coming in better. I mean, I've noticed now within the our midfield, the way how it is. I mean, I've noticed Odegaard's pushing up more. You know, he's getting his chance. Declan Rice, he's doing his job like a pivot, if you know what I mean. He's backwards and forwards. He's getting shots on goal now. So, you know, it's that sort of thing. But we just need to keep to that standard. I mean, we've got games coming up. Our next two league games. I mean, we got it's Sheffield United this week, and then Brentford, isn't it?
Sheffield United, we've got Monday night, and then we've got Brentford. Yeah.
Exactly. So these are two games that we've got to win. You've got to win. I mean, we saw Brentford. I don't know if you watched the game, but they were poor last night against West Ham.
Yeah, against West Ham.
4-2. Fantastic game. So this is what I'm saying. This is what we've got to keep doing into those two games. And then obviously, you know, we got the Champions League game after Porto, which you said we're going to come up and talk about in a bit. But, I mean, I'm happy with what Mikel Arteta is doing at the minute. I mean, I keep saying, may long it continue, he gets praise. He does something wrong, then we've got a right to say, well, look, you've done shit, your tactics were shit, you were crap in this game, and you didn't organise your players properly on the pitch. So this is what I think we have got a right to say that. We can criticise on one day, and then when they play good the next day, we can praise them. That's all we can do.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, there's a good comment actually from Luke. Strange one about Havertz. Let's not gas him up too much. I think it was just a problem finding his best position. I'd go along with that to a point. Yeah. I mean, my only concern was when we bought him, when Arteta bought him, right, or the club bought him, Arteta made that statement, I don't know where to play him. Now that, to me, immediately sent out an alarm bell saying, well, if you bought the bloke and you don't know where to play him, why have you bloody bought him? If it's not going to fit the system, you know, because, but okay, maybe Arteta's seen something that I haven't seen, and he obviously knows more than me, that he saw something in there and thought, right, okay, let's try and nurture him a little bit. Let's bring him in. And okay, he's at the moment. I mean, he got man of the match from me a couple of weeks ago. But I want to talk also about Jorginho. I mean, I gave him man of the match of the day. I thought he was the best performance I've seen him in an Arsenal shirt, personally. And my only thing I will say is that does concern me. We got some big games coming up, Anthony. Odegaard, mate, you've got to stand up in every single game. Because again, sometimes in that game against Newcastle, he went wandering, went quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, you gave a decent performance, but as the captain, you've got to give more. You've got to give more because you can't just wander away. But let's move this. I mean, one of the things I think has made a difference, Andy, in the team is our defence. I think our defence has been incredible. They've gelled. They're working together very nicely. Okay, make the odd mistake, but hey, come on. Tony Adams, Bold, and all that lot, Winterburn, and they all made mistakes. So nobody's bloody perfect. But would you agree that it's made a big difference to our performances?
Definitely. I mean, what's made a difference to our performances is the back two of Saliba and Gabriel. I said this last night on Tony Klopp's show. I said watching them sometimes in games like this, what we've been winning in that, it takes you back roughly to the Tony Adams and Steve Ford era. Yeah, you know? Great. And I noticed now those two are actually communicating more with one another, which is something that you really want to see. You go on about Odegaard being a captain. Is he really much a captain material? Does he communicate that well with players? You know, that like trying to tell them like go here, go there. You know, but the old captains, what we were brought up with and what we watched, I didn't think he is. But I mean, yeah, going back to our defence, I mean, Ben White, you know, he's been playing really well. I like him at right back. I slated him when we first signed him when he was at centre back because I thought he was absolutely awful at centre back, to be honest with you. And now the problem is, we're weak at left back position, but Kivour has gone in there and he hasn't done that bad, has he? Kivour, it's like what you say. You don't want to change nothing that is not broken. He does it well, but he stays back. Kivour, he only barely goes up. Is if we got a corner. He doesn't push. He hasn't got the pace where he can open that Martinelli, so he can let Martinelli drift into the box and get a cross in. We know we haven't got that in him. But in all fairness, he ain't doing a bad job. He's doing what a defender's supposed to be doing, which is staying back and defend, basically. So Martinelli's out there. He's got to do pretty much, I would say, 95% of the work. But listen, if Martinelli's doing that and he's happy doing it, and he's setting up goals and scoring goals, I couldn't care less. I think he's great at the minute. But I do feel that we need that left back sorted out, which surprised me we didn't get nothing in this transfer window. Because everybody was on about a striker. I want a striker, but I just knew deep down we weren't going to get one. So I was thinking, right, we definitely need a left back. Get a left back in, at least fulfill one of our positions where we're weak in. But obviously, that never happened. But, I mean, we can only take each game at a time and just obviously play what's in front of us and play to our strengths and the ability of what we can play to.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. That actually brings up another point. But Del Boy's put this. It's good. This is a good point, this. Guys, would you start Havertz over Trossard? What do you think?
At the minute, but you know what? That's a bloody hard question. That I definitely would say with Jesus, but with Trossard, it's totally different. I most probably say, yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Mikel Arteta switching it round in certain games, or giving each player an half, or maybe play Havertz for an hour and then Trossard comes on for the last half hour of the game, or vice versa. I mean, these are things that Arteta can actually do, especially when we go into Porto, into that Champions League game. But it's like what I said. At the minute, I would just play Havertz. Let's see what the £65 million man brings to this team this season. There's only 12 games left. Let's see what he can do. Let's give him 8, maybe 7, 8 games out of the 12, and let's see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, personally, to answer that Del Boy's question, mate, it's Trossard all day for me.
Yeah.
I think he's a better playmaker. I know Havertz can cause a little bit of. I've seen a couple of games now. He drags defenders out of position, gives more opportunities for Trossard. So it's a tricky one. But Martinelli, Trossard, Saka, I like that front three. And hey, we've been saying it for a long time. So, you know, if it works, then it has worked. So keep it. I've got nothing personal against Havertz. If Havertz was to start banging in a goal every 2 games, right, a bit like Trossard, then you've got a massive argument for the two, haven't you? That's a nice problem. That's a nice problem to have.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you know, I said this a couple of weeks back with Lee, you know, if we've got players coming back from injury, which is what we'll talk about in a minute, but Timber's back in training. Will he come back? I don't think he'll play a full game for the rest of the season, but if he starts to get back at 10 minutes, 15 at the end of the game, fair play. I'm happy with that. I wouldn't rush him straight back into the team. No way. Yeah. Now, this is a question for you. This is a question, mate. Partey, apparently he's back in training. Apparently, after this mammoth injury time, a thigh strain. Got to be the longest thigh strain injury in living history. But is he ever going to start a game, do you think? Do you ever think he's going to start a game for us, Anthony?
No. And personally, you got to think he's missed 95% of this season, maybe more than that, 97% of this season. And look what we've done without him so far. We're still in contention to win the Premier League. You know, we're scoring goals, we're winning games. Would it be right to drop someone and put him straight in the team? I don't think it would be. No. I mean, I did prefer him over Jorginho, but like you said, I give Jorginho man of the match the other day, and it proves that he don't play a lot of games because in the I think it was the Burnley or the West Ham game? It was like towards the end of the game, Jorginho was down on the floor, wasn't he? Because he played and he pushed himself to the strengths, and it was just like it just felt like a bit of exhaustion got into him, and he sort of like, do you know what I mean? He was like, oh god, and they were like they were helping him back up, but yeah, I mean. Regarding Thomas Partey, no, I don't think he should walk in this team at all. But there's another debate about this as well, isn't there? I mean, there could be, or like, I'm not going to go into it, but old news was lingering around at one time, wasn't it? Yeah. With Thomas Partey. So I don't know whether they said to him, look, I don't know whether he was injured or whether it was that time, but most probably taking him out the line like that sort of thing. I mean, he didn't. I don't even think he went. Well, he said he picked up the injury. That was why he didn't get to AFCON, wasn't it? African Cup of Nations. So
apparently,
but you know, you never know. Is the only people that can tell us this is most probably Arteta, Edu, and Thomas Partey himself. But you know, we just got to read between the lines, and you know, we just got to accept what people are telling us, what they're telling us, basically. But no, I don't think he should walk straight back in the team. Whether he's on the sub bench and he brings him on like in the last 10, 15 minutes of the game, maybe, yeah. But I won't be giving him a full 90 minutes, no.
No, I tend to agree with you on that. Bench, yeah. If he's available, bring him on. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Partey. I think he's probably one of the best passing midfielders we've got in our squad. No, he can thread that little ball through the eye of the needle. And I like that. That is what we want from a midfielder. But will we see him? I don't know. I mean, I don't know about all this injury rumour and what's going on behind the scenes. Personally, if you want my honest opinion, I think it's the typical Arteta doesn't rate the player, and therefore if you don't rate him, if Arteta doesn't rate him, you're out the door. You won't play him. But I could be wrong. I could be so wrong. Arsenal Manic says, Rice is massive for Arsenal. The sheer amount of work he does in all aspects, he's paramount. Just need a replacement for Partey now. Well, that's the point. I'll take it. I do agree. Rice has been immense. I think he's made a hell of a difference, Anthony, isn't he, in our midfield? He's,
Oh, definitely.
his work rate, man, is unbelievable.
Yeah, he's all over. I mean, you look at. I think I can't remember what game it was after, but they were showing up like they showed his picture, and it's like a heat map, and it was a heat map of Declan Rice, and I tell you what, how much heat that he covered on that pitch, unbelievable. And he's the only player I know when you see him, right, when that full-time whistle goes and he's gradually walking off the pitch and the camera comes up to him, like, when he comes up really close, you can actually see he is literally covered in sweat from head to toe on his performances and the way how he plays. This guy is an incredible guy. I rate him. Personally, I think he should be the Arsenal captain. I can't see why. I mean, we give it to Fabregas, but Arsene Wenger gave it to Cesc Fabregas when he was young. So I reckon this guy should be a captain. He's the one that talks to the players. He's the one that addresses that midfield. They're learning, but basically, I think our midfield has improved, obviously, since Declan Rice come in. But gradually, it takes time and time again that you've got to nurture your players. You've got to tell them how to play in that midfield. And I reckon Declan Rice has really had a key role in that. And I think, he's captain material for me. He should be captain for next season. Strip Odegaard from the captaincy and give it to Declan Rice because definitely. But it's like what you said, Jez. We like our midfield. We know it's improved. Hence, that's why Declan Rice come in to improve it, and it is improving. So I'm happy with Declan Rice. I'm glad we got him. Going back to that question with Partey, in all fairness, if we do decide to sign a midfielder, who do you think is most probably out there? Or who personally would like to see Arsenal get in that midfield?
Who would I like? Well,
yeah,
who I would like, not really so much. I'd love Phil Foden, but that ain't happening. I mean, I'm sorry, he's not really a midfielder, but more of a winger. But I mean, I don't know on that one because, I mean,
I know who I like.
Go on.
Bowen from West Ham. I know he's another West Ham player, but
okay, I'll go with you on that hat trick last night. Yes, yeah. Now that's actually a point. Now I want to ask you this, right? You watched the game last night, Brentford, West Ham. I was not impressed with Ivan Toney at all.
No,
he looks like he's given up at Brentford. I'm not saying he's crap. Don't misunderstand what I'm telling you. Yeah, but that looks to me a player like he's sitting there thinking, I just want the season to end and get out of here.
Yeah, he sends that vibes on the pitch. I got to be honest with you. Since he's come back, has Brentford really done anything? No. My answer is no to that. And all this hype, because we knew Ivan Toney, because he did say the way that obviously he was banned with that betting scandal. So, and Brentford helped him out massively on that. So his choice was to stay at Brentford and leave Brentford at the end of this season and go wherever he's going to go. Do you know what I noticed in the beginning part of this season with Brentford? They were playing fantastic football. They were 7th one time in the Premier League, 7th. They had to come up with a new game plan, new strategy because of certain, obviously, their best goal scorer, Ivan Toney, wasn't obviously in the team. And then I've noticed they started to dwell off a bit, Antony Brentford. Then Ivan Toney comes back in, and he may have scored a couple of goals, but he ain't the same player. And I got to be honest with you, Jez, I have said this from day one. And people said to me, would you have Ivan Toney at Arsenal next season? And you know what? There was times where I said, yeah, I would. And there was times where I said, I'm not too sure. And I got to be honest with you, I think I'm not too sure now.
I'd have to be honest with you. The couple of games I've seen him play recently, right? Having watched the whole of the game last night, I'm thinking, is this just him thinking, I don't want to be here anymore? I can't be asked. I'm turning up to do the job I'm paid to do. But the thing is, the one thing that concerns me, Anthony, is this, right? If he is going to go in the summer, Brentford are going to put a stupid amount of money on the table for him to sell him, right?
Yeah.
Let's say they came up with some, hypothetical, let's say 90 million. Sorry, on current paper, no, he's not worth that.
No.
And I think if Arsenal, if he doesn't step up his game by the end of the season, I'd be questioning Arsenal looking at buying him for an exorbitant amount of money, because that again would be a stupid buy. But to go and buy a player, let's say 90 million, who hasn't really, he's played, let's say, half a season and hasn't really ripped the grass up, I'd be thinking that's a big risk. The risk, of course, is it's risk and reward, isn't it? That if he came to Arsenal, he'd be excited, bigger club, more achievement is available. So he'd probably step up again. But, man, this always concerns me about this sort of situation.
Yeah. I think the way he's going down, Jez, he's going down the wrong route with that. Because it's like what I just said, where Brentford stuck by him, he should be performing. Right?
Yeah.
If he's got that in his mind, where right, I'm going to be definitely leaving here at the end of the season, but I'm not too sure. It might be one of the top teams. Let's say that for figure of speech. He's still got to play, in my opinion, a decent game of football. He's still got to score goals. But the chances are there of him score, because the only person he's letting down at the end of the day is himself. Because a player of how he was last season, he was a phenomenal player last season. Seriously, he was brilliant. And I just think he could be like that again. But I thought that there was one thing I did say, where he's been out for this length of time, right? And it was only going back a couple of months ago that he was allowed to come into the training ground and start training with Brentford with the team before he got back into, obviously before his ban was up, right? So all that time, all that period, with a striker like that, not really kicking a football, that has a toe on him, and you can actually see it in the games he's playing now. So if he is to leave, and he's still how he is now, if he's like that from now to the end of the season, Brentford, I don't think could get the money what they want for him. Because I'll be honest with you, I think you'd be looking around about, if he's going to play poor from now to the end of the season, I think you're talking around about the 60, maybe 65 million mark, the price will you pay for Kai Havertz, in my opinion. But Arsenal fans want him, and I have said it on a few channels as well, Jez. I don't think he's going to come to Arsenal next season. I think he's going to go. No, I think he's going to go up the road. I think he's going to go to Tottenham, and the reason being, I do, and the reason being, the money that Tottenham got from Bayern Munich for Harry Kane, they haven't spent that.
No, it's
makes you think. Do you know what I mean? That could be an Ivan Toney there. For that money, I think it's about 85 million he went to Bayern Munich for, wasn't it? Harry Kane. So I reckon that money there is to lower in an Ivan Toney.
I hadn't thought about that. That's a good point, actually. Yeah, that is a concern. To be fair, if he went down the lane, not happy about that, because
I'm sorry to put doubters on you, Jez, or anybody in the chat, but this is my own opinion, which I think will happen.
Mate, that's why you're here. You give your opinion, and that's what we want to hear. A question here then. Adama says, could Bowen step up club-wise, though? What do you think, mate? I think he could.
I think he could, yeah. I think he could. I mean, it proves what is what West Ham are like from now to the end of the season. Don't get me wrong, they had a good win against Brentford, but they struggled in a few games before that. And all the fans now are still crying for Moisey out. Do you know what I'm saying? So it depends. If he's out and a new manager comes in, it depends if Bowen can get on with this new guy, this new manager. If they do bring him in, if he brings somebody else in, and they don't like, he can't relate to the new manager that comes in. If they do get one, I think he'd be gone. He'd be handing in a transfer request. And in all fairness, I would love Arsenal to snap him up. Even if it's like, I don't know, he's in his peak now, Bowen. I think he's 26, 27 now, so he's pretty much he's in his peak. Yeah. So I think you most probably get Bowen for the likes of, I don't know, what would you say, Jez? Maybe around about 70 mil, maybe
60, 75, maybe around that.
Yeah. But I mean, that guy can go on and play when he's like early 30s, mid 30s. He's got the caliber to do that, and I feel that'd be money well spent when you divide that money up for over the years. That if he did sign for us, it's well worth it in the end. So I mean, that would be another fantastic player to put straight in our midfield, where you can have Bowen, Rice, and also whoever you want there, really. Because the only thing that I don't like, Jez, with Arteta is when he plays Trossard there. To me, that's a waste of time, because when he played Trossard, do you remember when he played Trossard next to Rice and Jorginho in the last game before last? It was like, why is he playing Trossard so far back? Surely the man of what he is and what Trossard can do, he's better going up more, going up towards the strikers, maybe, rotating it round, like maybe drop maybe drop Martinelli for one game and bring in Trossard, or take off Havertz and put Trossard up front, but he seems to be playing him back within that midfield when he comes on as well. I know we do like for like still with between Trossard and Martinelli, we're still doing that, but there was times where he was playing Trossard in that three, and to me that wasn't no good, because you need more stability there. And Trossard, to me, he hasn't got the stability there to play in that free midfield. He likes a free roll. Let him get with the ball. Let him run with the ball. Pass the ball. Shoot. Give him that opportunity up front. In the attacking position, not the midfield. It don't work for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point there from Alex. With Tony, you have no question his character. Have to question his character with the betting issue. If he now downs tools, so to speak, no, thank you. I mean, these are questions that need to be looked at and need to be asked. Yeah, and that's my concern. I mean, Arsenal manager said maybe if he underperforms, his fee will drop. Yeah, but that's Antony made the point. Club and be more willing to sell. Yeah, fact. Arsenal manager, he could. Well, United need a striker. It's another option, so that could be a position where he could go. DJ Fresky D, good to see you, mate. I think Jorginho should play in Champions League second leg against Porto. Now that's a great segue. That brings me on to something I wanted to talk about. Right. The fact we've got Porto in a couple of weeks at home, we're 1-0 down. Away goals no longer count. So apparently, it's not like how it used to be. If it ended up as a 2-2 situation, it's going to be interesting. But on aggregate, I mean, so. I just wanted to bring this up very quickly. I've got a couple of other things we'll slip into, but I want to share this screen, right? Bear with me one second. And that's Arsenal in the Champions League, right?
Yeah.
Not particularly great. Barcelona Cup final where we got cheated. I don't care what anybody says, we got cheated.
Yeah.
Right? If you look at it, when I mean, That's Porto 1-0 at their gaff. Bayern Munich 5-1, 5-1. Barcelona 2-3-1. I mean, Monaco 3-1. We beat them 2-0. Bayern Munich. I mean, why, Anthony, are we so crap in bloody Europe? A big club. I mean, let's get it right.
Yeah.
I've said this. I've said it to you, I think. We are probably the biggest club in England never to have won a Champions League. I'm not saying we're the biggest club, but we're one of the biggest clubs in England never to won a Champions League. Probably one of the biggest clubs in Europe never to won a Champions League. I don't. Why is it a mentality thing, or is it we just don't have the structure right to achieve in Europe? I mean, I think. Go on, mate, please.
I think what you just said, it could be pretty much of both. But then again, you've got to look at it. I mean, there's so many ways of looking at this. I mean, the way we're playing in the Premier League and the way we've always played in the Premier League. I mean, to me, I always thought the Premier League was the fastest league in the world, right? So we're playing our games, we're finishing top, we're finishing high, but it's like what you said. When it comes to European football, playing in the Champions League is no good. So it makes you think: is it the stability of the squad? Is obviously because you've got to play. I think you've got to play different football in this Champions League. Personally, I do, because you've got it up there. You've got it all up there, right? And that was the best one. The best opportunity was to win it was when we played against Barcelona, and we were robbed. But I mean, you look at the Bayern Munich, the 5-1 games. I mean, it was just dire all round, wasn't it? And it's teams now that we're playing against, and it's the same team that we play in the Premier League. And you're like, well, why is that? I mean, look at Porto game, the last game. We didn't even have really a shot on goal.
No,
that was absolutely piss poor. And I'm there and I'm watching this game and I'm getting frustrated. And I'm thinking to myself, Arsenal really wants to play for a 0-0 draw here. There's nothing in this game, and it won't surprise me if their mindset was to play for a draw away, bring it back to the Emirates, and most probably go on to win that game. But now we suffered from that, obviously, which was a good goal, by the way, scored by Porto. So we find ourselves 1-0 down in this game, taking it home. What's the best thing that Arsenal can do now in this game coming up against Porto in the Champions League? The best thing to do is actually play like a bloody team, like how we normally play against, how we are doing, scoring all these goals and that. Maybe if we can, I mean, somebody just there on there, maybe play Jorginho, maybe tweak the team, swap the team around a little bit. When I say swap the team around a little bit, I mean introduce like maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 players into the team. Do you know what I mean? And create something there. But it's like what I said, no matter what Arteta is going to do, whether it's formation or what players is playing in this next game against Porto, we got a chance to go through. We got to be 2-0 up at halftime.
All day.
To go through. And then that's 2-1 on aggregate. They only got to get a goal back in the second half. If we don't score, that's 2-2. That's going into bloody extra time and penalties. Do you know what I mean? So with Arsenal, the strategy what Mikel Arteta's got to come up with, we've got to be leading. We've got to be 2-0 up within the first 45 minutes to go to anything. I'm not going to say, Jez, I'm not going to say we're going to win the Champions League. Personally, I don't think we are, because Mikel Arteta has come out and said we've got a very thin squad, which we have. But I did say, if we get to the quarterfinals, anything past, well, let's say from the quarterfinals onwards to the semis or the final, to me, is a bonus. Is a bonus. I want the Premier League this season. That's the main thing that I want. That's to me, that's your bread and butter, Jess, the Premier League. And I want that so bad. I mean, he sacrificed 2 cups, the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. I was annoyed with that, but I was more so annoyed with the FA Cup. Like you, Jez, I grew up watching the FA Cup final, and then when you see Arsenal playing in that final, you know, it's like a buzz. Do you know what I'm saying? You're getting a buzz and all this and that, and you think that obviously if Arsenal went to a final now in the FA Cup final, I guarantee you we would have won that FA Cup this year. The way we're playing, I reckon we would have won that. We would have won the FA Cup this season. I said at the start of this season, I wanted the FA Cup and a Premier League. That was the two things I wanted Arteta to win this season. So we definitely ain't winning one of them now. We've got to win this Premier League. If not, 750 million to spend. Well, he has spent, and we don't win the Premier League, and he's been backed. I'm sorry, but the guy would have to go. I'm not worried about these games now, what we're winning, because I'll tell you something now. These games we're winning, if we don't win this Premier League, all these games we've won, all the goals we scored, what would it count for?
Nothing.
Exactly. So this is what I'm saying. You're doing a good job now, but let's get on to the better things. Well, if we can win this Premier League, because I want this Premier League this season, and the way we're playing and scoring goals, that is a sign of champions to me. It is. So we've just got to focus, maintain it. I think Man City are going to slip. I mean, I'm not being funny. You look at it, Jez. I don't think Haaland's been that great since he's been back.
No,
personally.
No. Totally agree.
He slipped. Kevin De Bruyne's come back. I don't think he's made much of a difference, Kevin De Bruyne. And I like him. Good player, world class, same as Haaland. But those two are not doing it at the minute. I know they've just come back from injuries, but I mean, listen, the players, the caliber of those two players, I haven't been seeing it. I haven't been seeing the flair. I haven't been seeing the passion in any of those two at the minute. I mean, what was Man City's last game? Was it 1-0 win against Bournemouth, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Foden got the goal. I mean, you look at Haaland. Look how much he was totally pissed off when he came off his sub. He was surprised. Because a player like that thinks when he comes off, a player like that normally scores the winning goal in that game, then gets taken off. He's not too bad. But the way he played and his performance in that game was very poor.
Yeah, I totally agree. I watched it. And the thing is, when you've got a player like that, he must have been so frustrated in himself.
Yeah.
But as 3v8 says, Arteta out. That ain't going to happen anytime soon, my friend, unfortunately.
No.
Luke James, check the Swansea goal was a basic header in front of goal. Did you mean the Everton win a FA Cup semi-final 2016? Arsenal says, sorry, mate, it was Liverpool. Martin Tyler commentary, he went wild. Let's have a look at this one. Now, when you actually look at these teams, right? Bayern Munich knocked us out.
Yeah.
Barcelona, Monaco, Bayern Munich, AC Milan, Barcelona, Man United, Liverpool, PSV. From the last 05-06. Now, we were led to believe that moving to the Emirates Stadium, we were going to compete with these people.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing that as competing against these big boys. I'm not saying Monaco are huge at all, but they kicked us out 2-0 and we lost 3-1. That is not good. That is shocking, right?
No.
I mean, look at that one there. AC Milan 3-0, and we lost 4-0 in the first leg.
Yeah.
So basically, you lose 4-0 in the first leg. We tried damned hard, 3-0, and look at where we were, right? Last 16, last 16,
Yeah.
last 16, last 16, last 16, last 16, last 16, quarterfinals. semi-final, Man United, quarter-finals, last 16. We got to the final in 05-06. So we are crap. We are crap in Europe. And I just don't understand why it is, because excuse me, when you look at the team that we had around 2000 up to 05-06, right? We were winning stuff, cups, Premier Leagues, but we just can't deliver in Europe, and we never have. I just don't get why we are that poor. But let's move on.
We had a better team back then, Jez. In my opinion, obviously in the Champions League, when you go back to the 2000s and all that. And I can remember on the panel, and the guy that was on the panel was Don Howe, right?
Yeah.
And Don Howe said, with Arsene Wenger, he literally said, it's like an omen to Arsenal being in this Champions League. He said, because they don't win anything. He said, but they can have a really good season in the Champions League and they can get to the quarterfinals, maybe stroke semis. And he said, as soon as you get to that semi-final, he said, sometimes depending on your players you've got, their mind goes. And he said, it's like Arsenal back then, it was like the Champions League was dangling and it was swinging in front of them. Hence, that's why the Barcelona game as well. It was swinging in front of them. And he said they put their hands out, but they just can't grasp it, right? So that was going back then. But now, I mean, you look at it, look how many you showed me there. And obviously I knew that as well. All of the last 16s.
Yeah.
So we've never, it's like what you said, we've never improved. I personally think it's something within the players. It's got to be a mindset thing. People always say this luck of the draw, this, that, and the other. I don't care about the luck of the draw. You've got to play and face who you've got in that round in front of you. That's it. That's the way I am. That's the way I always will be. But I got to be honest with you. It's down to the mentality and the way the players are thinking. But then with Arsene Wenger, we're in the Champions League. He used to play the same players all the time. So you had the players playing in the league, the Champions League, then the league, then Champions League, and so forth. And you're thinking, right, why not just jumble it up a little bit? Like what I said, maybe introduce 2 or 3 different players into the team. You know, spice something up a little bit. But I mean, we could still do that against Porto and still win. I mean, if it was me, I'd rather not play Havertz against Porto.
No,
I'd rather play Trossard. Because we need our attacking players fit. Maybe like we were on about Jesus. Why haven't we done that? Why haven't we dropped Martinelli for one game, rested him for one game, and played Jesus there? That's where he played for Man City.
Do you know? I honestly think this is my opinion, right? And it may cause a bit of controversy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've got the setup right now to challenge in the Champions League. I don't. And I think we've got more chance of winning the Premier League than the Champions League. And I know, everybody's certain people, channels are we going to win the Premier League and the Champions League? Forget that idea. It ain't ever going to happen.
No.
It ain't happening. Right? Right now, I think we have more opportunity to win the Premier League. The way we're actually conducting and playing in the Premier League, I mean, not the Champions League, Premier League. So, of course, I want us to go. I'd love us to get to a final. I would love us to get to another Champions League final.
Definitely.
But we've got to get past Porto, and then we're in again against the big mix. I don't want to lose against bloody Barcelona again and Bayern Munich, although Bayern Munich at the moment aren't playing very good football, but there's other teams out there that are. So I just don't think we have the levels to actually get it over the line.
No.
So would I take an option? Would I take an option here? Would I make a choice in, do we go for the Champions League more, or do we go for the Premier League? Personally, right now, as I sit here, I'm going Premier League.
Yeah.
I think the team is more governed for that. I mean, there is the argument that Arsenal are a great cup team. Yes, in domestic cups we are. Well, in the FA Cup, not so much in the League Cup or the Carrier Bag Cup because we don't take it seriously, which I find nonsensical. But silverware is silverware, and you'll win the silverware wherever you can. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
But I think we have to be realistic at this point in time in saying, I mean, as Arsenal Manic says here, Jez, would you be Arteta out if we managed to go out at home against Porto and do win the Premier League? That's a great question, mate. That is a great question. If we go out in the Champions League, but we win the Premier League, I would have to sit here and I'd have to sit and say we'd have to keep him because he's won a Premier League.
Hold your hands up. That I would do exactly the same, Jess, and say I was wrong. Okay, it may have took Mikel Arteta a certain amount of time and £750 million to win the Premier League, which is great because he has been back. If he does it, brilliant. I mean, I've slated this guy since day one, right? And he wasn't my ideal manager. But if he goes on and he wins the Premier League this season, I would turn around, I would have to congratulate him and hold my hands up and say, mate, I was wrong. It took a while and it took money to do it, but mate, you've done it. You've finally done it. You've achieved it. And also, if he does that, this is where I think this contract should be offered to him towards the end of the season and not now, because he's the fifth highest paid manager. He's on 8.5 million a year, right? And now this contract is going to extend him now to 2028, right? So if he's on 8.5 million, Jess, I guarantee you he's going to have a certain major pay rise of around about anywhere between, I would say, around about 14 million mark, maybe 15. It won't surprise me. And if he's on £15 million a year, right, that would be the same wages as what a certain Arsene Wenger was on before he left.
Mm.
So, do you know what I mean? But you've got to keep it.
And you know that in his contract, if he was extended for that period of time and he failed and was binned, he's still going to get a massive payout.
Oh, definitely.
That's what managers do. But as Philly 2109 says, Arteta out wouldn't even happen if Arsenal don't win anything. 640 million and nothing to show for it, but still rewarded for failure. Shame the demise of a once great club. Yes. Now, one thing I'll say on this right now, right? If we go out in the Champions League, which I personally, sadly, think, bloody hell, Haaland's has scored. If we go out in the Champions League at some stage, which I'm sure we will, and we lose the Premier League, then he has to go. Enough is enough. I don't care about coming second. We came second last year. What did it give us? Nothing.
No.
So that, to me, if he came second again this season, that's abject failure. As you quite rightly said, Anthony, scoring all the goals in the world and you don't win anything, doesn't matter.
No,
doesn't matter. It's great to watch as a fan. It's great entertainment for us. And it's great entertainment for a neutral. But no, you have to come. There has to come it's like anything in life. When things go wrong, you have to end it. Whatever it is. And you can't keep on accepting failure. Because I know there are a lot of fans that will accept it because they're more in love with Arteta than they are with Arsenal. God knows why, where they're coming from. But
I don't get it.
I don't understand it, man. I really don't.
No, I don't.
As Luke says, in my opinion, Arteta has had a fair crack of the whip. He has to win the league within the next 2 seasons. See, 2 seasons. No. It's now. It's this year. It's this year, Luke. If he doesn't win it this year, then he has to go. I'm not going to change my opinion. If he wins the Premier League, I will sit here, as Antony said, and say, well done, mate. Well done. Well done. Well done. Now, move on. Go for the next level. Right? Move on. Do it again. Let's really compete now at the Champions League.
Because I'll tell you something, Jez. If he don't win the Premier League this season, and it's like what we said, we want Mikel Arteta out. We want him out, but it's not necessarily he's going to be out. So if we don't win the Premier League this season, and he is still the manager next season, right? If he spends 200 million, right, that's 950 million he's had to spend. 50 million of that in a January transfer window. Let's say that for a figure of speech for next season. That's your first billion. He's the first ever Arsenal manager to spend $1 billion next season. And you know what? If he still doesn't win anything, he'll still be there in a job. And fans, like what we call these Arteta sexuals, they'd be gassing him up and God knows what else. And he thinks, well, he spent his first £1 billion in the club, but he still hasn't really won anything. All right, he's won one FA Cup. I'm not counting Community Shields because that's not a trophy. It's a shield. So, I mean, I've never known one FA Cup win to keep a manager in a job for 3.5 years, almost 4 years after winning that trophy. It's ridiculous.
No. Well, yeah, when we had Terry Neal, 3 consecutive FA Cup finals, 1-1, right? The 78-79. Next season, we lost to West Ham, right?
Trevor Brooking, yeah.
Season later, he was out. He was sacked.
Yeah,
he was gone.
Yeah, I think I think there was a story on that, Jez. I think there was it the fans? They went on a certain march to get him out.
Yeah, I was there. Islington Town Hall. Yeah, went up to Islington Town Hall. There's about 15,000 fans on that to get him out because he'd been there. Fair play. He was a player. He had played for Arsenal back in the day, but time was enough, and he had to go. But as Luke says, I mean, I hear this all the time. It's incredibly hard with the likes of Man City around. Well, we used to do it against Man United when they had Sir Alex Ferguson. But the point is then we had an absolute level manager in Arsene Wenger. And we bought top-class players. We didn't buy the likes of Fabio Vieira, Marquinhos, all these type people.
Yeah.
We bought proper footballers, right? And you know, if you go back to that time, Antony, Arsenal spent money, right? I mean, we didn't have the money of Man United. Let's get it right, yeah. But we still spent decent money on world-class players. The difference is we haven't got any world-class bloody players.
No.
Man City have. They've got Haaland, they've got Foden, they've got players like that. Yeah. They got Van Dijk, KDB, I mean. And that is the difference we got. We buy shit at times.
Yeah.
And
you're absolutely right. Because Man City, they're playing. It's like, sorry to put in there, Jez. It's like when they make a sub, they're replacing class with class.
Yes.
Us, we're replacing. All right. I mean, I don't know if I go over the top of it a little bit here with Arsenal, but we're replacing not class. We're replacing good with average. That can you see the difference? And it's not happening. But it's like what I said. It makes me think now for the players that we've got and in the position that we're in and the amount of goals that we are scoring. I mean, we've got the best defensive record and the best goal difference in the league.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I mean, if that don't say one thing, that's champions form. Champions form. And I tell you something now. Jez, I can see it. If we do not win this Premier League, there's going to be a lot of unhappy people, me being one of them. And I can see it now. I can see it all over social media. I can see it on like shows like this, streams, and people are going. It's going to cause a little bit of a ruckus, let's say, towards the end of the season between fans, and it will. And then eventually that'll die off. We'll most probably see who we have to get in next season, who we buy next season, because we got the power now. Obviously, we're in the Champions League. We've got money for that. We've had TV rights. We've had all that money, all the money that we're going to finish now in the Premier League. You know, hence you've put, Arsenal, Kroenke, you've put the ticket prices up now by 6%.
Yeah.
Right. So do you know what I mean? So if anybody tells me that Arsenal hasn't got money to spend, I'd be telling them you're talking bullshit.
Fact, absolute fact. And that now, Del Boy, great question. If we win the Champions League and bottle the league, what's your feelings about Arteta? Well, if he was to win the Champions League, I'll have to say, fucking fair play, man.
Hands up.
We never won a Champions League, so I'm going to have to say fair play to you, son.
Get in the contract.
Go again.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when we had Arsene Wenger, right? When he came in, I didn't know who the hell he was, never heard of him. And when we signed him, I thought, who's this guy? Well, what? Now, let's get it right. Back then in them days, we didn't have social media to the levels it is now.
Yeah.
And I suddenly found out he was the manager of Grampus 8 in
Japan.
In Japan. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, really? And then, he managed at Monaco and this, that, and the other and whatever. And then I thought, no, is this a good move? But fair play. Within 2 seasons, he proved me wrong. Won the league, right? And then went on to win up cups, leagues, competed with the greatest manager in English football, in my opinion, ever, Alex Ferguson.
Yeah.
And many, many, many epic battles, what we all know about. But the thing is, if he went out there, mate, and if he won the Champions League, you've got to put your hands up and say, fair play, son, because we've never, ever won a Champions League. Personally, no. I'm not seeing it happening. But as I said, and you said, and you agreed, and Lee's agreed, Kenny's agreed, if we win the Premier League, we've all got to sit here and open the champagne and say, well done, fella. But yeah. I have to agree with what your statement was just a few minutes back. If it all goes tits up, right, and we win nothing, it will be a bit like back in the day when it was the Wenger out. Fans were fighting amongst themselves at the Emirates, and they were. People weren't turning up. They were turning their backs on the club, saying, it's it, get him out. Some would say, no, who are we going to get? Blah, blah. And there's all this drama going on. And so it is going to be interesting, mate. If nothing comes out, if we get no silverware, this season, then he has to go. Coming second gets you nothing.
No.
As Goonie Ra says, if Arteta was given a further 2 billion, who would still win fuck all? I mean, over 2 million, that means he's going to be here for about another 5-6 years. No. As Goonie says, bullshit excuses. Wenger competed with Fergie. Yes, he did. That's the difference. And we didn't have their money at that time, but he competed with him. Goonie asked.
Do you know what, Jez? He was going back a while ago. We always called Arsene Wenger tight because do you remember what was it? That French other striker we signed, Sylvain Wiltord.
Yeah.
Right? He cost us around about he was either 12.5 or 13 million pounds. And he was our big buy for a number for a few years.
Yes.
And then the next player that came up, and sadly who's not hearing it, was that Antonio Reyes. I mean, we signed him for God, blimey, what was he? Was he like 18 and a half? Something like that? It was round about that mark, wasn't it?
Have that, wasn't he?
And then obviously that was when later on we had all the other players coming in and that. And I mean, what was it? Lacazette was the main one, then Aubameyang and Ozil, and then it was all coming in like sort of thing. So that was Arsene Wenger's big buy. Was Aubameyang 65 million. That was his big buy. But that was a January buy, and that, in all fairness, that was the best buy that Arsenal had for years in January, because we never really do any big business in January. We never really did we, Jess?
We bought shit like Arteta.
Oh yeah, we have bought shit, yeah. But I mean, I thought Arteta was. I thought that was at the beginning because he was a panic buy. I thought that was before the season started because it was him, Mertesacker.
January, wasn't it? It was January.
Oh yeah, it must have been January then. But yeah, it was like there was about four panic buys, weren't there? In Mertesacker, and there was another one or two.
We were something like 5th, 6th in the league at the time, and so he went out on deadline day and bought Arteta, Mertesacker, a couple of other players, can't remember. But I mean, this here, Arsene Manic says, look at this. 6 million for Pires, 3 million for Lundberg, 7.5 mil Bergkamp. All right, well, that was under Bruce Rioch. 11 million for the Henry, 3.5 for Patrick Vieira, 500k for Anelka. Different times, but it all counts. So yeah, we didn't have the Man United finances, but the biggest point I'm going to make here is we had two fabulous people in negotiations and to attract. So Peter Hill-Wood,
David Dean,
and David Dean.
Yeah,
that's the difference. They had,
and also the manager Wenger. That, in all fairness, you've got to give credit where credit is due, Jez. Arsene Wenger, he could spot talent off a mile away.
Yes,
this was why he was in a job. It was winning trophies as well, and then we had the Invincibles. But don't get me wrong, the reason what kept Arsene Wenger in a job was because of the talent. Because we knew when we bought players in for 5 million, we were selling them for like 20, 25. So we were making X million pounds back coming into the club. I personally thought, in the last 10 years of Arsene Wenger's managerial career, he was there on merit for just doing that alone. That was my own opinion, anyway. But I mean, you look at it. I mean, Adebayor, 7.5 million. We end up selling him to Man City for 25 million. You know,
Anelka, 500.
Anelka, yeah. The list goes on. Overmars, we signed him for 7. We ended up selling him for some. I think it was it 20 or 25 million to Barcelona, and they had Petit went with him as well, wasn't it? Emmanuel Petit went there as well. So I mean, the list is endless. I mean, the only one that I didn't like was which was his options to go. Was when we signed Thierry Henry in for like 10, 11 million, and then we ended up selling him. I think it was was it 18 million to Barcelona?
Cheap.
Yeah. And I mean, I think we could have got more money for him, but he wanted to go.
Cheap to Man City. Could have got more for him, but
yeah,
it is what it is. Anyway, let's wrap this up, guys. Anthony, thanks for coming on, man.
That's right, Jeff.
Always a great debate with you. You always speak the facts, and respect for you for that, mate. Please shout your socials out and what's coming up for you this week.
Yeah, you can find me on Football United TV. We're doing Gunners from All Corners this Thursday. I need a couple of guests on. I've been so busy. I haven't messaged anybody yet to go on that show, so I'm still looking for guests on that show. If you want to pop on that one on Thursday, Jez, if you're free.
When?
Thursday at 9 o'clock.
Thursday 9 o'clock. Yeah, I'll join. I'll join you, man.
Yeah, I'll get you on there. Then we can go on there, and then I'll get somebody else on as well. And then on Sunday, we're doing the Premier League weekend show where we talk about all things Premier League. Who was your worst player, worst team, best team, predictions, But it's nice to do something like that, instead of talking about the Arsenal, it's nice to talk about with other people that supports other teams and getting their information on the team they support. And obviously getting their views on Arsenal and all Premier League teams approved, like sort of thing. So so that'd be on Sunday. I think that'd be at a time around about 6:30 because we seem to be going on Tony early doors on the Sunday night takeaway, don't we, on the Sunday?
Yeah.
So
It's good fun, that is.
yeah, I like that. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Nice one, mate. Thank you for that. Well, we haven't got through hardly anything that I wanted to talk about, but that's not a problem because that's the way I like it. I like it when we go down different side roads and the chat comes in and brings up good, very valid points indeed. That's very important that we get that. And tomorrow I've got a show at 6:00 with my weekly show with Kenny Ken and Northside, and I've got John Sinclair, Newcastle fan, coming on to discuss what happened at the weekend.
Yeah.
And Dow was coming, but I think Dow's under the weather at the moment, so I'm not sure he'll be about. But that's he's apparently not very well at all. So big up for that. But anyway, everybody, thank you all in the chat that have asked some really good questions actually, which has fell in line with our show tonight, and that's been very important. And I'll do the outro and we're out of here. And everybody have a very good evening. I'm off to watch the football. It's now Man City 2-0 up against Luton. But take care all and enjoy the evening.